We'll be diving into our discussion segment where we'll be talking on the state of the nation. The topic today is identity politics, weaponizing poverty, and more. All right, today we're confronting the state of Nigeria in a way that speaks directly to our struggles, our division, and our resilience. Let's talk about identity politics, how it's no longer just about North versus South or Igbo versus Yoruba versus Hausa, but how these divisions are being sharpened to distract us from failed promises and unchecked corruption. Why is it that during every election season we're suddenly reminded of our differences instead of our shared needs, jobs, security, electricity, education, good health care? Then there's the weaponizing of poverty, brutal reality in a country where over 133 million Nigerians are multidimensionally poor. Poverty shouldn't be a tool for political control. Yet, here we are, stomach infrastructure during elections, exploitative palliatives, and a system that keeps the masses hungry enough to stay quiet but desperate enough to fight amongst themselves. Add to that the rising cost of living, a collapsing naira, and a generation of young Nigerians who are losing hope not just for greener pastures, but for basic survival. Meanwhile, those in power keep playing the same old games while the rest of us suffer. But Nigeria is more than its problems. It's a home. It's our home. So today we're not just diagnosing the sickness, we're talking about the cure. To help us expose this rigged system, we're joined by Dr. Victor Kwambuge, political affairs commentator. You're highly welcome.
Thank you
for being here.
Thank you for having me.
All right, I believe we should really dive into it. It is a matter, should I say, of concern to a lot of people. Identity politics. It is always said that it is always when it comes to the verge of, an election year or, further through an administration, those things are being touched. Just of recent, a lot of uproar of, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu only, assigning people of his tribe, which is the Yoruba tribe, to particular positions. What is your thought on that?
Okay, thank you very much for having me. Good morning to you and to your esteemed viewers. Truly speaking, we are at a crossroads as a nation. Last week marked the midterm into the tenure of the current administration, and there are so many issues that are emerging. So many issues are emanating currently in the polity. You're right. One of the dominant issues in the whole administration of the current president is the issue of identity politics. People are beginning to be concerned. People are beginning to question the identity of the people that are appointed into sensitive positions of authority. People are beginning to ask questions about where are they from rather than who they are. And that is the unfortunate reality that we find ourselves as a people, because there is high level of mistrust between us. People no longer think about competence. People no longer think about quality. Instead, people think about the fact that who is this person? Where is this person from? And when this begin to take the center stage, then definitely we do that at the expense of merit. We do that at the expense of quality public service. I think that as far as this current administration is concerned, it has actually succeeded in deepening the level of mistrust between the government and the citizenry.
Well, when it comes to this particular identity politics, but it usually isn't said out loud, or isn't really broadcasted, should I say, or put in minds of people, unless it is really close, should I say, or when the politics has started to thicken. That is when you really hear about it.
It's completely political, to be very honest with you. Let us look at it even from the historical point of view. You recall that the colonial government have actually started this whole journey for us when you recall that the Richard Constitution of 1946 divided the country into 3 regions: the northern region, the eastern region, and the western region. And you also recall that the political parties that were formed during the colonial period were all formed along ethnic, religious, and regional lines. You recall that the Northern People's Congress, formed by Ahmadu Bello, was actually an offshoot of a Hausa Fulani cultural organization known as the Jami'ar Mutanen Arewa. Obafemi Awolowo formed the action group from a Yoruba cultural organization known as the Ogbe Omo Oduduwa. And even the NCNC, that wanted to give an impression that it is a national platform, also was swallowed by the politics of ethnicity and regionalism. And this was metamorphosed into the First Republic, the Second Republic, and even the current dispensation where we have, where you see situations whereby people are aligning themselves along regional lines among these. So this always takes the center stage of conversation. And it is very unfortunate for a politics like ours, where instead of us talking about real issues of development, for instance, 2 years into our administration, we are supposed to be talking about the quality of governance that we have experienced. We are supposed to be talking about the issues of to what extent has this administration initiated policies that has resulted into poverty reduction? To what extent has this administration initiated policies that has improved healthcare? To what extent are we even on the verge of achieving the sustainable development goals by the year 2030? But unfortunately, all these things are not on the center stage. Tuning onto on your television screen, what you hear every day is talks of coalition, talks of this, oh, this one is the campaign from this party and what have you. So we have elevated politics above governance, and this is very dangerous for a fragile polity like ours.
Speaking about poverty in Nigeria, the poverty rate has risen, I would say, in the country, whereby people are living hand to mouth. Inflation has risen as well. Is it a situation where, because there's always speculations that the everyday Nigerian is being kept in that particular position due to the fact of the kind of politics that we do in Nigeria, it is in relation to the poverty that the people are going through. They're kept in that position so that when the election year comes, they're more hungry and in desperate need and would help in the political careers.
So we talk about weaponization of poverty. In fact, last 2 days ago, an event took place here in Abuja where there was a birthday celebration of the former Rivers State Governor, Rotimi Amechi, and the topic for the whole conversation was about weaponization of poverty. And personally, I feel that we have even gone beyond weaponizing poverty, but now we have politicized poverty. Instead of us initiating steps, practical steps, actionable steps that can reduce poverty, we have elevated poverty now to the level where it is now a topic for birthday celebrations, a topic for seminars, conferences, without serious actionable steps that have been taken. And look at the dramatic personnel that characterized that birthday celebration. I thought that these people should be honest enough to use that platform to tell Nigerians what they have done to ensure that poverty is reduced in the country, because virtually all of them actually had opportunity to be at the helm of affairs at a particular point in time. The former vice president, for example, Alhaji Atiku Abubakar, was a vice president for 8 years, the head of the national economic team, and I thought that he would use that opportunity
and still trying to vie for the
presidency countless times. So I expect that he will use that opportunity to tell Nigerians, this is what we have done, but unfortunately this and that.
So do you believe it's a case or a situation of weaponizing poverty as well? They're using it in itself.
Exactly, weaponizing and politicizing.
Exactly.
Politicizing in the sense that without poverty, most of them don't have anything to talk about. Where I was actually shocked in the whole event that took place on Saturday was when His Royal Highness, the Emir Sanusi Lamido Sanusi, he was a former governor of the CBN, Central Bank of Nigeria. And to the best of my knowledge, if my knowledge of basic elementary economics serves me right, the CBN are saddled with the responsibility of ensuring a proper control of our monetary policies. They are saddled with the responsibilities of ensuring that they promote price stability and to ensure that our financial institutions are. And His Royal Highness made a very shocking statement that it is now that he became emir that he understood the level of poverty in Nigeria. So if as a governor of Central Bank of Nigeria, you felt that you do not have a proper understanding of what poverty is all about, it is when you become emir, then it actually made me to wonder, these people that we always study with the responsibility, do they even have a proper analysis? Do they even have a proper data about the level of poverty? Last week, I heard the Minister of Humanitarian Affairs talking about the use of AI in order to ascertain the level of poverty. For crying out loud, we are not being fair. They are not being fair to us, and they are not being fair to these people that they are supposed to be initiating policies that are supposed to be reducing poverty. Poverty is beyond what they think. Poverty is real. Do you really need AI to even know the numbers of poor people that you have in the country? Do you need AI to even know that people are poor in the country? Go to your neighborhood, ask people questions, ask people about their basic needs, ask people about whether they are able to, in fact, what is their nutritional habits these days, whether they are able to have a balanced diet. So the questions are many. And somebody's talking about the use of AI to...
Absolutely. But do you believe that there's a disconnect between, people in power and the people at the grassroots, the everyday Nigerian, in their experiences on what is going on in the country? So that is why it might not be translated into what the people need, because there's that disconnect.
The disconnection level is even very wide. Very wide in the sense that when you hear what they talk about, especially when they are analyzing poverty, when they're discussing poverty, you know that the level of disconnect is very wide. Very wide in the sense that the people, on the other hand, are actually facing the excruciating pain of poverty. They are actually facing the excruciating pain of hunger. Somebody is out there in the studio, in conference rooms, in this, and they are talking about, and they are using big grammars to address poverty. One of the keynote speakers on Saturday gave a very beautiful topic, but I didn't hear practical solutions. He said democracy and a republic of poverty. So now at the moment we have even elevated the conversation into big grammars. What do you mean by republic of poverty? Yes, we understand that Nigeria has been recognized as poverty capital in the world at some point in time. I don't know what the data is right now. But the fact is, poverty is more real than what these people are talking about.
Oh, well. So the priorities are misplaced when it comes to looking at the bigger picture instead of going into the nitty-gritty and making sure that each and every aspect is looked at properly and concentrating on the greater good rather than making sure that each and everything benefits their political career.
Thank you. In fact, another question to even ask is, who are the people that are actually initiating steps towards poverty reduction? We have never been short of policies. As far as poverty reduction is concerned, poverty have actually seen most of our policies are actually drifting towards poverty reduction. From the First Republic political period, the Second Republic, most of the agricultural policies, the Operation Feed the Nation, the Great Revolution Program, Babangida's D-Free, Obasanjo's Need, Seat and Leads, President Eradua's 7-point agenda, Jonathan's transformation agenda, most of these policies actually have an element of poverty reductions in them. But at the end of the day, to what extent have these policies translated into proper poverty reduction? So when you talk about disconnect, you are absolutely correct. When you're talking about the fact that these people do not even have a proper appreciation of what poverty is, what is the data? How many people do we have?
The severity,
the extent of the pains that is being suffered by an average Nigerian. The World Bank said a poor man is anybody that is living below $1 a day. How much is $1 today? 1,600. How many people actually have 1,600 naira for their daily bread? How many people have 1,600 naira for their daily survival? So you will see that the percentage is dismally low. So that is the extent at which we have poor people in Nigeria. But instead of addressing the real problem, these people are busy adopting cosmetic approaches and chasing shadows.
But then one thing I believe I want to ask is, when it comes to identity politics, that in itself, do you believe it creates a divide in the people as well, where they don't see the bigger picture and educate themselves, because that divide is already instilled in them, and it eludes them from the bigger problem, whereby it is security, it is jobs, it is healthcare at the end of the day?
Yeah, so the issue again is the kind of politics we play, especially in Nigeria. Identity politics that you talked about, whereby people are more interested on having our own in positions of authority instead of what has this person even got to offer. In many cases, when electioneering period are approaching like this, the conversation is going to be tilting towards which religion, whose turn is to produce the president, or is the Northerners, or the PDP is presenting this person is supposed to be from the Southwest, this and that. So instead of actually us focusing on the manifesto of political parties, instead of us focusing on what has this candidate got to offer, what are the antecedents of these candidates, what are the pedigree of the candidate in terms of what effort can this person make, what are the practicability of the manifesto that this person is presenting to the public, what is going to be your methodology in terms of poverty reduction, in terms of improve in healthcare access, education, etc. Those things do not actually dominate our conversations. What dominates, unfortunately, is what religion is this person? What tribe is this person? Oh, this person does not belong to this region, so we are rejecting this person. This is our turn, and what have you. So when we continue like this, honestly speaking, we will continue to lament. We will continue to say, oh, the poverty level is this, the poverty level is that, and what have you. So if today we are approaching the 2027 elections, as citizens, I think we have a responsibility to start scrutinizing the manifesto of these political parties. It is high time as citizens we start asking critical questions about who is this person rather than where this person is coming from.
So, now the question I would like to ask, in an ideal world, in what ways can, for example, identity politics be avoided when it comes to politics in itself, even though that is a situation that could be hard to, get over? But at the end of the day, how can that be swept aside and make sure those key aspects that need to be looked at are looked at?
Okay, so the word avoided seems too ambitious.
Okay.
If you say we want to avoid identity politics completely, I think many people will not agree.
So a little bit of reduction.
Exactly. So maybe we can mitigate, we can reduce to some extent. And that is where I think our institutions need to be strengthened. Our political parties need to be stronger, and they need to take the key role in ensuring that issues of development are emphasized rather than the issues of politics. Like I said, 2 years into an administration, people don't talk about governance, people talk about politics. The dominant news is about coalition, the dominant issue is about defections and what have you. And we are just 2 years, we still have 2 years to go, and it is not even politicking period to start with. But again, people are already talking about who is, whether Bola Ahmed Tinubu is going to continue as president or somebody is going to take over from him and what have you. So I think that the issue of identity politics can be realistically reduced if only the political parties are sincere in ensuring that they push forward the agenda for development. They ensure that they insist on the fact that only merit-based systems are actually institutionalized so that credible candidates can come on board. And as citizens, it is also important for us to begin to talk to ourselves, for us to begin to embark on a self-audit, to ask ourselves some critical questions. What do we really need at this point in time? Can we afford to continue with the current status quo, whereby every day you hear deaths here, you hear insecurity there, you hear poverty level there, you hear that students are writing WAEC at 12 midnight and what have you? Can we continue with this kind of narratives, or do we really want to make a statement of intent to start talking to ourselves and say enough of this? It is high time we start having credible people that will be at the helm of affairs so that we can start enjoying the dividends of governance in the country.
Right.
When we're talking about critical questions, I would love to find out from you, Dr. Victor, is identity politics in Nigeria a reaction to, let's say, historical injustice or a modern tool of elite manipulation? Because we have, these leaders coming into, power. It's like, they are manipulating the citizens that, their voices are supposed to be heard when they cry out.
So, yeah, identity politics, again, we say, looking at it from the historical point of view, like you rightly pointed out. I just finished going back history lane to talk about how even the colonial government deliberately implanted that for their own reasons. We have had instances whereby the divide and rule policy was actually introduced so that it could achieve some particular gains. But again, the objective that the colonial masters introduced this kind of identity politics is not the same as what the current crop of politicians are using identity politics. Right now, it is being used as a means to win election. The easiest way for me to win election, if I'm Christian or if I'm Muslim, is to go back and mobilize my own people, in quote, and start talking to them about the fact that, oh, these people, the other people do not like us. This is what they are saying. They are saying that they have to be in power by hook or by crook and what have you. So if I can play on the psyche of my own people, it is easier for me to spur up their sentiment, and that anger, it's definitely going to reflect on the day of the elections. And elections or voting is actually going to assume that kind of line. And I said, instead of us pushing forward the agenda for development, instead of us pushing forward the agenda for growth, instead of us pushing the agenda for economic transformation, we elevate this kind of the fact that, okay, it is our own that is there. So we don't even care what the person is doing. But as far as we can call this person our own, it's actually enough for us. But that is why I said it is high time we start asking ourselves some critical questions. How long are we do we want to continue with this kind of politics? How long do we want to continue lamenting every day? We finish election, the next month we already start talking about the fact that, okay, there is insecurity everywhere, this thing is there, and what have you. So it is something that we need to actually make a decision as a people.
But really, can the term poverty ever be addressed meaningfully without, confronting the structures that benefit from it? Yeah,
so to be very honest, I cannot mention one country in the whole world where they have zero poverty rate. Poverty is everywhere. It's a global phenomenon. But again, the instances, the dimensions of poverty level, the poverty rates actually varies from one country to the other. And that boils significantly to the quality of leadership that you have in those countries. Countries where poverty are drastically reduced are actually done through the instrumentality of effective policies that are initiated by good leaders. So this is where many African countries are actually lagging behind. This is where so many third world countries are lagging behind. So if we actually talk about poverty being addressed, I agree with you, it can be addressed if only there is a political will, and if only the citizens, like I said, emphasize on having credible leaders at the helm of affairs, leaders that actually have a manifesto, leaders that actually have a blueprint, leaders that have a roadmap for economic transformation. When we do not have those kind of leaders, when the only thing that is on the lips of those leaders during political rallies is that it is my turn, it is this, it is not the turn of this region, rather these people have ruled for so period. So when these things continue to dominate our political rallies, our political campaigns, then unfortunately we will continue to come back to lament on this kind of issues, and I pray God forbid.
All right. I would like to hammer on something or hear your opinion on something, which is at this point the 2-year anniversary of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, and he highlighted a couple of things whereby he would say are achievements that have been made so far when it came to the 2-year mark. He spoke on the level of inflation. He spoke on the naira to dollar, rate. He spoke on the tax reform that would positively impact, should I say, the everyday Nigerian, and a couple of things that have been pointed out. When you look at it on paper, you would think that Nigeria is doing really good. In your opinion, does it necessarily translate to what is going on in the daily lives of Nigerian? And do you believe that, let's say, in the next 2 years before the election year, there would be any more progress? And that would in itself alleviate the rate of poverty that we have and probably take out that mentality of, waiting for someone to come and save them when it comes to that election year, making an impression on people due to that poverty rate. Would that poverty reduce, and that kind of impact will not really affect Nigerians anymore?
Good question. Thank you. So I'm not a fan of the current president, but at the same time, one of the few things I admire about him is his level of honesty. He's actually someone that can tell you things as they are. One thing he has never hidden away from us is the fact that there is economic hardship. I don't think he has ever sugarcoated it. He always talk about the fact that the reforms are coming, even though the pains are there and what have you. And even I give it to most of his media aides or media advisors. They always come clean in that regard. The only problem here mostly is the efficacy of those steps that are taken to address poverty. The efficacy of those steps that are taken to improve the life of an ordinary Nigerian. Dudley Sears in 1969 said three questions need to be asked when you're talking about the level of progress made in a country. So I would also like to use that as to predicate my analysis about whether or not progress have been made in the last 2 years. Dudley Sears said three questions. First, you ask what is happening to poverty. Second, you ask what is happening to unemployment. And three, you ask what is happening to inequality. As far as the current administration is concerned, I do not think that poverty level has reduced. Instead, we have actually seen where the life of ordinary people are continuing. In fact, is going down every day. I watched a documentary by your great media outfit, I think Daily Trust newspaper.
Trust you.
Yes, I think Trust TV or Daily Trust newspaper, one of the media outfit I read on the pages of your newspaper where an analysis on poverty was actually taken, I think, in one of the northwestern states, whereby a woman said that in many cases she do not have what to cook for the children. So what she does on a daily, on many cases, is that she put water on fire to just deceive the children that she's about to cook. Out of excitement, the children will start playing, thinking that the mother is actually preparing a meal for them to go to bed. And she said, in the process of playing, they will just slip off. And that is when she will now put down. So I think you cannot actually talk about a more greater description of poverty than this, when it has gone to the level whereby even parents, the relationship between parents and children is beginning to be deceptive. Someone actually mentioned that when he was asked what poverty is, he said, do not ask me what is poverty because you have seen it already. Look at the clothes I'm wearing. Look at the food. He just pointed a pot in his house. He said, just go and take a peep at this pot. He said, just go into that room and perceive a smell. He said, anything you perceive, anything you see, anything you touch is poverty. So it's not really something that someone has to write an academic paper. You need to organize a birthday and you start saying you are bringing a topic of weaponization of poverty, and you are assembling people that have actually failed in poverty reduction in their respective in their respective states. For example, the former governor of Jigawa State, who was one of the speakers during the program on Saturday, Alhaji Sule Lamido, when he left the government house in Duse in 2007, I think Jigawa State is one of the top 3 states as far as poverty level in Nigeria is concerned. And yet in 2025, these people gathered and they're saying that they are trying to oust the current government because the level of poverty. To me, I think that is a high level of hypocrisy.
So really, if poverty were reduced significantly, how might Nigerian politics change? So
it will change in many fronts. First, it will actually make these people to lose a very important weapon that they have, a very important instrument they have to will vote. When you go to many polling units, you discover that the issue of vote buying is actually something that is very, very, in fact, very glaring. Yeah. How much do they even buy the vote? Sometimes you will even shed tears when you discover that they give as paltry as 2,000, 3,000, highest 5,000 to make sure that they vote for their political parties. So if poverty is significantly reduced in Nigeria, I hope that is possible, it is actually going to affect positively the kind of leaders that always emerge. Okay. Issues will now no longer be about vote for me and I'll give you this. Issues will not, campaigns will no longer be about whether salt is given to this household or whether there is Maggi in this car that is coming for campaign. But instead, when people alight from their vehicles to go for political rallies, people will be interested to hear about what practical steps are you coming with, what different idea are you bringing to ensure that you push the agenda for development for our people. But right now, do they even campaign? No. Do they talk about manifesto? No. Do they even talk about something serious during rallies? All you hear are beautiful rendition of songs whereby people just dance and at the end of the day they will just clap for themselves and they are off. But if poverty is, because the reason why they do all of these things is because they know that they have the financial war chest to go to the polling unit to buy their way and they are elected again.
Because the people are in survival mode.
Yeah.
Exactly, but assuming the people have the audacity to say no, you are giving us money, no, we are not interested in your money, we are actually voting for the right kind of leaders. Imagine how that is going to cause a serious transformation into our political system. But as it is now, they are interested in maintaining the status quo because it favors them a lot. You don't need to perform in your 4-year tenure because all you know is that you gather a good amount of money, you go to each location, dole out some money, and that's it.
Well, in your projection, as we would all want to hope that one day would happen in Nigeria, in your projection, how long do you believe it might take for Nigeria to have a little bit of lift when it comes to poverty reduction?
You ask how long I think will take before we begin to reduce. Well, in terms of timeline, I cannot confidently tell you at this period because I am not a political prophet. But at the same time, as a development person, I can tell you that the day we start having the right kind of people in positions of leadership, and the day we start having people that have the ideas instead of people that have the political strategies, that is the day where we begin our journey into the land of our economic transformation. The day we are serious about electoral reforms in the country, whereby when we say that this is the financial threshold for all political parties, you cannot spend beyond this, and we ensure that it is enforced, then I think we start our journey into our land of economic transformation. The day we start de-emphasizing the issue of regionalism, ethnic politics, this and that is the day we start our journey. But at the moment, I do not really see that possibility in sight because, like I said, 2025 is not an electioneering period in Nigeria. We are talking about midterm review, but yet, what is the conversation all about? There is a summit at the State House the other time, and what are the issues? It's about giving a vote of confidence to the current administration. It's about the legislature moving a motion for the continuation of. So it is. These are the kind of things that dominate our conversations instead of us actually taking a very critical look at the scorecard of the current administration by placing some checklists and some indices. What have you done on this? Tick. What have you not done on this? You cancel. And at the end of the day, you now say, this is where we are at the moment and this is what we need to prioritize. But all these things do not happen. Instead, we are talking about a very beautiful song by Rana.
All right. Thank you very much, Dr. Victor. It was an absolute pleasure to have you here and help us analyze, the issues of identity politics and weaponizing poverty, as well as other variables as well. We've come to the end of this segment. Make sure you stay with us for the next segment. We'll be going on a quick break. Don't move away.